Our next contestant is Bud Rigoulot. March to the beat of a different drummer. March to the beat of a different drummer. Bud Rigoulot.
Standing here, when I close my eyes, I can go back in time. And for a brief moment, I'm living the life I'd worked so hard to have. I'm living the life I love. I'm normal. But then when I open my eyes and I take a step, reality sets in. I'll never have that life again. I'll never be the same. I'll always be different. I'll stand out. I'm not normal. Mr. Contest Chair, fellow Toastmasters, and honored guest, I'd like to ask you, what is your definition of normal? I know what the Webster Dictionary tells us. Conforming to a standard, being typical, expected. Well, I can stand here right now and tell you, my wife's been telling me for years, but you're not normal. You've always marched to the beat of a different drummer. I'd really like to think that was a compliment, but I'm not sure. I'd like to take you back in time tonight. I'd like to take you to a part of my life to help you understand who I'd become and who I am. 2 years ago, I was laying in a hospital. I'd been fighting for 8 months to save my leg. 10 surgeries, many blood transfusions, and then the day came. The doctor came into my bedroom, the hospital, and he told my wife and I, we've done everything we can. There's nothing else we can do. If we don't cut your leg off, you're going to lose your life. But how do I tell that woman who I'd told 22 years earlier, until death do us apart, through sickness and health, that I'd already given up? I didn't want to live anymore. The life I had to the life I'm going to have, being an old man, crippled, in a wheelchair, that isn't for me. But I couldn't find the words that day. I couldn't find the courage to say goodbye. So they cut my leg off, and I went home. I hated every minute of every day. The day dragged by. I'd go to bed at night, and I'd pray that tomorrow wouldn't come. But it always did. And I'd ask myself again, what did I do so wrong that I deserve this life? And then months later, they gave me my first leg. I started to learn how to walk again. I fell all the time. I broke bones. But I kept getting up. I kept walking. Even though the pain of every step was excruciating, I kept going. And then I was offered a chance to volunteer in an elementary school for a few hours a week. Boy, I tell you what, that was the highlight of my life. I go in, them kids called me Mr. Transformer, said I had a robotic leg. They even stole it one time. They'd high-five me and give me hugs. They'd hold my hand as we walked down the hall so I wouldn't fall or hurt myself. And then one day I was working in the cafeteria and I noticed this boy out of the side of my eye. He had taken his tray and he goes and he sits at a table and he's sitting there by himself. And he takes and opens up these napkins and he lays his pizza in one. And he lays his french fries in another. And he wraps them up. And then he puts them in his backpack. And then he takes his applesauce and he puts that in there along with his milks. And as he's zipping it up, he noticed me watching. He puts his head down on the table. I think he's sick. I'm not sure. So I go over and I ask him, are you okay? Do you need to go see the nurse? And he told me. He said, no, I'm okay. I was able to eat breakfast this morning. My sister hasn't eaten since yesterday. And I says, well, where's your sister? We'll give her a meal. And with tears in his eyes and running down his cheeks, he looks up at me and he said, sir, My sister's 3 years old. We live in our car. My dad hasn't been able to find a job. I started crying then. At that moment, I realized I'd been so selfish for so long in my life. All I ever thought about was me. And a 9-year-old boy in 15 seconds taught me there was more to life than what's about me, what's about you. He cared more for his sister that day eating than he did himself. We bought him a lunch that day, and for the next several weeks, we put Lunchables in my wife's refrigerator, and he'd come in there every day, and he'd grab a couple of them. He liked the chocolate chip cookie ones. Let me tell you, I looked everywhere for them. But then, weeks later, he comes to me. His dad had found a job. They found housing. He was moving to a school closer. I think of that boy every day. I think of all them kids every day out there that are homeless. It's my mission. It's my passion in this life. Because I was given a second chance to help them. Well, afterwards, I realized I had it in my heart to do these things. But my body was telling me, hey, bud, you suck at walking. So I got lucky one day. I was given a gift. Wrigley. He's the best friend I've ever had. He's my companion. He goes everywhere I go. He stands by me when I walk out that door. He stands there holding me. If I fall, he's there waiting for me. He changed my life. I'm no longer a one-legged cripple. I have 5 legs. I'm not normal. I'm different. I stand out. We all have it in us to be exceptional, extraordinary. You don't need to lose your leg to find it. It's all there. It's always been there. It always will be there when you need it. All you have to do is believe in yourself, and you can change the world. One person at a time. Mr. Toastmaster. Okay.